Is it recording? Is it recording? Check.
1, 2. Check. 1, 2.
We're at Green. No. I can't rap.
That's a good thing.
It's a very good thing.
We are here in Chicago's Chinatown neighborhood having dumplings right outside of the...
Shout out to the Qing Xian Yuan dumpling company. Qing Xian something.
Outstanding dumplings. But we're talking Green Building because we're at the Green Building show, and we ran into the Green Police enjoying dumplings. But the conversation came up about spray foam insulation, the benefits, some of its drawbacks, and things got rolling. So tell us about spray foam insulation, guys. Where do you want to start?
Well, what I would talk about is that in terms of new construction, to me, spray foam insulation in many cases is an excuse for not having a thoughtful design. When you design a house, you say, okay, how do we make it high performance? And because it's a really complicated design, the only way to do it cost effectively is with spray foam. If you sort of think about the house holistically, it's like, I want a high performance house, I want a good design. Are you making fun of me, like moving your head there?
Got a little too. I was listening to some music in my head. Sorry, were you talking?
So if you think holistically, high performance and the design together, you can design a building that doesn't require spray foam insulation. That's the first thing.
Yeah, well, yes, okay.
Yeah. I mean, in remodeling situations,
goals, right.
In remodeling situations, it's often the only good solution. But the other concern I have about spray foam is that it is easier than many other products to screw up. You can screw up all insulation products in terms of how they perform. The challenge with spray foam insulation is you can also screw up the combination of mix and temperature, which can lead to the stuff just literally not staying in place. It can lead to off-gassing and things like that. Not that happens all the time.
It doesn't lead to off-gassing. It does off-gas.
Well, no, it can lead to extensive off-gassing is my point.
It has a limit. But
I think, like spray foam is a very complex chemical process that has temperature control, mix controls and things. And my concern is, people that often don't have adequate training are doing it in trucks on the job sites. You basically have a manufacturing facility in a truck.
It's a mobile manufacturing facility.
Yeah,
I'm not going to contest that.
And
I'm not sure about
controls,
easiest to screw up. I think that's a stretch. I mean, batt insulation is by far and away the easiest thing to screw up, and the hardest thing to do right. And I don't think that those guys are untrained. I think the spray foam guys
I'm not saying,
are generally fairly well trained.
You are putting words in my mouth. I didn't say they're untrained. I said some of them are inadequately trained. Some of them are not adequately trained, as opposed to untrained.
Okay, viewers, what do you think?
That is a fine distinction.
It's a fine distinction. Yeah, it's about that much of a distinction.
As big as your brain.
Yeah. Oh, ouch! And I feel like I should insert a penis joke here, but I'm not gonna do that to you.
Thank you very much. So that's my thought. I was a big fan of spray foam insulation when I first learned about it because I was a remodeler at the time. It was like the performance was just magic. And I think,
was kind of magic.
Yeah,
it's not magic, but it still works really well.
It does a really good job, but I think there are, I just built a house, super high performance, no spray foam in it, and it worked out because I designed it thinking that all the way through. I wanted to see how high performance house I could make without spray foam, and I basically beat all expectations.
So I'm going to agree, you can do it without using spray foam. Absolutely. And I think we both like things like bibs, right? We both think there's a lot of value to some of the blown-in fiberglass.
Yeah, I use blown fiberglass in my house.
Yeah, it's awesome. We both agree that wet cellulose is kind of like risky, right? It can be done
in your climate more than
in
northern climate more than southern climates.
I feel like that one more often than others.
My point is
that spray polyurethane foam.
He cuts me off all the time. I'm just like,
if someone doesn't cut you off, you just keep talking.
Oh no! You are the run-on sentence of all time.
Hemingway was the run-on sentence of all time. You know they give a prize if you can keep a sentence going and going and going into eternity.
So go ahead, Michael, please.
So, spray polyurethane foam can be installed improperly, and it can be put on the wrong substrate, but the knowledge base from the installers today is nothing like what it was when it emerged on the market and you had guys in trucks who were just spraying it and they were doing a crappy job.
No, I don't mean to.
I think that's radically changed.
No,
and now I feel like I actually get it.
I cannot get a freaking word in edgewise.
Now I can actually go to an installation company that does batt and foam and cellulose, and they will look at the structure and will come up with a solution. Oftentimes that involves multiple insulation types, and it's getting done really well.
Yeah.
That's a radical departure from where we were, and I don't think it's an all or nothing proposition. That said, your house, yes, but like we're using the Huber product and that R12 panel. Yeah. I don't get air sealing the way that I want it.
Okay,
with
for
just
you,
the panel.
the Nook of the North, who lives in places people shouldn't
Nook
live,
of the North.
need R12 insulation
Oh.
as an exterior sheathing plus the other insulation.
Yeah, we need the
I live
other
I live in
insulation.
a normal place where R20 walls are just fine. Like I don't need any more insulation than that. Because it's
So in my normal place, where people, it's actually where people are nice,
we're very people in
All
the
year
South.
round.
People in the South are very nice.
fake nice. That's the like fake news.
Bless
Yeah.
her heart.
Yeah, bless their heart. But they're a fool.
Okay, so my point is,
I wanna get air
just
sealed.
shut up for a second. I am not anti-spray foam. I just think that I'm sort of maybe I'm atoning for a little bit of my overindulgence in it earlier. But I think
This is Jewish guilt.
it's totally
This
Jewish
is what
guilt.
Jewish guilt looks like
This is
played out in spray foam.
and you know what it looks like. No, I just think it's like what's funny is I was a real proponent of spray foam, and all the people that I talked to about it listened to me, so they're all now proponents of spray foam. And I thought, let's roll this back a little bit. There are lots of solutions, and spray foam is one of them in certain situations.
Yeah, that guy who wrote about observing wolves, and there was an alpha male, and then published a book, and then 2 years later realized he was wrong, and the publisher said, no, we're not going to unpublish the book, and so now people believe in the alpha male, even though it doesn't actually exist. So you're
The alpha
responsible.
spray foam.
The alpha spray foam.
Well, what's really it's actually funny. There's the whole thing about using open cell spray foam in roof lines because you can find roof leaks. That
one was weird.
The thing is, I think I'm the one that said
you
that.
say
I
that?
think I'm the one that made it up.
I bet we could find a video clip of you saying
I don't
something
know.
like
It wasn't a
that.
video. It was something I ran across in a project. We actually had a roof leak in a project.
I mean,
We
it
found
was true. If the roof was leaking with open cell foam, you would find that
Right.
it was
So
leaking.
that was
That's
why I
the story.
promoted it. And how many people say that back to me? It's like, no, I said it and I was wrong.
It's tough.
I've actually been in classes where I said, no, some idiot,
Yeah.
said that, and that he was
Yeah.
wrong, so
Yeah.
go with closed cell.
People occasionally remind me of things like in the early green building days where we were advocating for certain technologies, and we're like, no, we learned something since then, and that was
Like,
we were
going
dead
back
wrong.
to the other installations, like the blown-in bats. I'm a real big fan of the mesh, the blown-in
Yeah.
behind the mesh. I think it's
We haven't wavered on that one in over a decade.
it's great.
Bibs is like endured.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's
like
terrific.
stainless steel and granite countertops. They've endured. White
Boy,
kitchens are
that
kind
was-
of like
that was a stretch.
White kitchens are like the spray foam or the cellulose. Is that what you're
They
saying?
drift in. They
come
drift in and out of favor.
fashion,
Yeah. No, but I find the whole thing funny. I found out about spray foam in probably like 2000. I thought, oh my god, this is the most
I
incredible
want to
thing I've ever
say
seen.
that I think
Wait,
that I went
I
to
was
your
talking-
house. I want to talk
wait,
about you.
I was
I want to talk
talking.
about you.
So my point is that I loved spray foam. It was everything.
Going on as it.
It was everything. And then over like the past, I guess almost like 15, 18 years now, I've tempered my view and I realize it's just one of many solutions and they all have their place.
So I was going to say, when you and I met, I don't know if you remember
My house,
this.
I got stuck at my house.
I got stuck at your house because your shuttle bus didn't come back to pick us
It was
up.
Ken Canline shuttle bus.
Yeah, and we were literally held hostage in your home.
I know, I held you at gunpoint.
For like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And we were forced to listen to you talk about spray polyurethane foam. And I left your house convinced. Convinced that spray poly... No, I was already using it, but I saw it in your house and I was like, well, son of a bitch, there's another guy who uses spray polyurethane foam. This is kind of cool. But that was back in the isoning days.
Yeah.
And we were spraying open cell foam everywhere.
Yeah.
And we did unvented attic assemblies, hot roofs, which you don't...
And a cold climate.
You do in the south as
Yeah,
well.
but open cell is not really good in your climate. Yeah.
Well,
It's
and
kind
so
of-
then, it's like we opened one up that we did probably 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was bone dry. And I
That's
took
good.
photos of it and sent it over to Stebrick. It was
Yeah.
like, really? Bone dry? And I was like, we'd sprayed it with a vapor barrier retarding paint.
Oh, so no
The
vapor.
entire thing,
up
so
in-
no
yeah.
vapor could get into it.
Yeah.
And it worked beautifully. But now, of course, everyone's using the closed cells.
Yeah.
I still think there's a case to be made for great air sealing, regardless of the complexity of the geometry with the spray polyurethane foams. That is very difficult to achieve with the other materials.
Well, it's difficult to. You're talking about the 2 inches of foam insulation on the outside. He claims, that it's hard to get the butt joints on the zip sheathing to go together. My house was, I have the 1/2 inch of foam behind the zip sheathing. My house, the only reason it wasn't ridiculously tight was because the framers were incompetent.
Okay, but most
if
framing crews don't have you standing over them.
I actually didn't do much. I didn't do that much supervision to that.
Didn't you have a wall that was out of plumb that you made them like cut loose?
Don't have anything to do. But it's like, I mean, so that's where a combination of design and a design that's not thoughtful and craftsmanship that's not thoughtful. And
I'm going to go to the position of the QA work generally isn't done. The framing crews make mistakes. The sheathing is improperly installed, and I want multiple redundancies. So I'm going to tape my sheeting, and I'm supposed to get my air seal, but I'm not going to rely on it. So that I'm going to add my spray foam, and then I have two ways that I'm now trying to air seal the structure. And I feel like between the two, the chances of it actually being air sealed are greater.
Going back to my house, which I won't brag on,
Compensating for fools.
I designed it in a way that I was able to do a blower door test before the installation was in, and I could tell exactly how tight it was before the installation went in.
And I'm assuming that most people aren't going to do a blower door test before the installation.
Right, and in some cases you can't because of the design of the building. But if you design the building in such a way that you can, which is a thoughtfully designed building, I could tell that this thing was going. And had my framer done a better job of the taping, they did an okay job. The house would have been even tighter.
So you really have moved into this like idealist, like it can be done and so it should be done.
I'm Aldous Huxley.
You're what?
Brave New World. I am Aldous Huxley. You know, everybody should do it.
I feel like I'm becoming more curmudgeonly than you are. You're like, it can be done, it's good, and I'm like, no, it's gonna fail and it's gonna suck.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Jeez. It's gonna fail and it's gonna suck. That is basically construction.
That is. That's the reality that we live in.
I think that's a good place to leave.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Can we